Hi everyone, my name is Lara Daramola and I welcome you to another episode of Triumphant Voice, a voice of victory. Here we don't just tell stories, this is where victories are echoed through testimonies. So today's testimony is a story of fear, faith, prayers, and God's divine intervention through a kidnapping experience. Without wasting much of our time, let's just get straight into the testimony. My dad was traveling from Lagos to Abuja in the month of March. He works in a particular ministry and he was expected to arrive in Abuja no later than 8 p.m. that Saturday evening. One thing about my dad is that whenever he travels, no matter how busy or stressful the journey is, he always finds a way to call the family. So when it was past 8 p.m. and we still hadn't heard from him, we became worried. His number was not reachable all through the night. By 6 a.m. on Sunday morning, my mom went straight to the transport park he normally uses, and that was where they told her that one of their vehicles had been hijacked by kidnappers in Kogi State. But when they checked the vehicle manifesto, my dad's name was not there. So there was still confusion and uncertainty. We went to church that Sunday carrying fear and uncertainty in our hearts, but still believing God. Later that evening, we tried his number again, and this time it rang. Someone else picked up and called. Someone else picked up the call. We immediately asked to speak with the owner of the phone, and that was when we heard my dad's voice. He told us he had been kidnapped, and the kidnappers demanded a ransom of 15 million naira in cash. This happened during the period of cash scarcity in Nigeria, when banks could barely give people 2,000 or 5,000 naira over the counter. Yet, in the middle of that impossible situation, in the midst of that impossible situation, we kept believing God for his safe release. The kidnappers took my dad's phone and went through everything. They saw that he was a pastor. They saw several things, pictures with church members, and several things connected to the ministry. Because of that, they believed our family had access to a lot of money, so they kept increasing pressure on us. They would call us several times a day. Sometimes while speaking to my dad on the phone, we could hear other victims crying in the background as they were being beaten and tortured. It was heartbreaking. At some point, the kidnappers mocked my dad because he was a pastor. They told him to deny Christ. They said things like, "Aren't you a pastor? Preach to us now." But my dad refused to deny Jesus. One day, they hit him on the head with an object so badly that his head almost split into two and blood started gushing out. But by God's mercy, the injury did not become life-threatening. The wound eventually closed up without serious damage. Throughout those 12 days, there was a strong chain of prayers from family members, friends, church members, and people at the church at large. Even when fear tried to creep in, God kept strengthening our faith. By the second day, despite the nationwide cash scarcity, God made a way for us to raise 2.5 million naira in cash from the bank. We still do not understand how it happened, but we knew it was God. The money was taken to Kogi through a relative, but the kidnappers rejected it, saying it was too small for someone of his level. At some point, we found out that my dad had not eaten for days. He had injuries on his hands that were already getting infected. They forced him and other victims to walk barefoot in the bush under the hot sun. They suffered intense physical abuse, insults, and harsh treatment. By the seventh day, my dad became seriously weak and sick. When we spoke with him, he started giving what sounded like final words. Hmm. He told us not to give up on God no matter what happened. Wow, such a great faith. But even in that painful moment, we refused to stop praying. There was a particular moment that strengthened our faith forever. The kidnappers asked my dad to kneel down because they wanted to kill him. But suddenly, they changed their minds and said to him, "We want to kill you, but we can't. What is happening? It seems your family is praying for you." Another time, one of my siblings started praying in tongues over the phone while speaking with my dad. The kidnappers became confused and asked, "What is this person saying? Is he reciting something like incantation?" My dad answered them and said, "That is how we pray." On the 12th day, around 1:30 p.m., the kidnappers called and instructed us to bring the ransom money to Kogi by exactly 8 p.m. Family, friends, and loved ones rallied around us, and God used many people to help us raise the money. The kidnappers specifically requested that a certain family members should be the one to bring the money, and they warned us not to involve the police. We were terrified because we heard stories of people who went to deliver ransom and were either killed or kidnapped as well. So we kept praying for divine protection over the person carrying the ransom, which is the money. Then around midnight, we received the call we had been praying for. My dad was alive and safe. The following day, he was finally released. He was immediately taken to the hospital, and honestly, what happened next shocked everyone. After 12 days in the bush without proper food, under intense torture and harsh conditions, the doctors ran several tests on him and found absolutely nothing serious wrong with him. No malaria, no typhoid, no major infection. His blood pressure was normal. Even the scan on his injured head came back normal. God preserved my dad completely. Yes, money was spent, but God brought him back alive. We have heard stories of kidnappers collecting ransom and still killing their victims, but God showed our family mercy. Through this experience, God taught us that prayer is powerful, that faith works, and that even in impossible situations, He remains faithful. Our word to everyone listening is this: never give up on God. No situation is beyond His power. There were moments during this experience when fear came, when hope became difficult, and when my dad himself told us not to worry about him. But as a family, we refused to give up. We kept praying, believing and trusting God for his safe return. At the same time, faith does not mean doing nothing. Yeah, that's true. We did everything we could humanly do. We reached out for help. People supported us. Money was raised, and every possible effort was made. So we encourage anyone going through a difficult situation like this. Pray, trust God, but also take wise steps and seek help when necessary. No matter how impossible a situation may look, God still has the final say. Hold on to Him, keep your faith alive, and do not lose. So, this is their testimony. Let me quickly say this. If you are listening to this and you are going through a difficult season right now, I pray that this testimony strengthen your faith and remind you that God still has the final say in every situation. I mean, every situation, even the seemingly impossible situation, God still has the final say. And just like the testifier has said, keep trusting God, keep praying, take necessary steps, but above all, keep your focus on God. Keep your eyes on God. Jesus is the author and the finisher of our faith. Keep your eyes focused on Him. So we want to say thank you for listening to this testimony. If this testimony has blessed you or strengthened your faith in one way or the other, kindly share to someone who needs to hear this. And if you also have a testimony you would love to share with us, kindly reach out to us through the contacts above. The story could become a source of hope and encouragement to someone else. So this is where we say goodbye onto this episode. My name is Lara Daramola. Until I come to your screen next time, keep believing God, keep trusting Him, and keep your eyes on Him. Bye.